You're right, I'm Alice, and this is Trans 101, a series of videos where I try to explain transgender subject matters in 5 minutes or less. In this first video, we're going to be talking about sex and gender and how they're different, because our society typically conflates them quite a bit and uses them interchangeably, but they're very different concepts. So, without further ado, let's start with the easy one, shall we? Alright, can we stop those sounds? No, seriously dude, if we're not talking about sexuality or the act of sex in this video, so those sounds are just, they're really gonna kneecap our point. Thank you so much. Okay, so when I say sex in this video, I'm talking about the system of organs that expel liquid waste from the body and carry out one half of the process of sexual reproduction. And on a very basic level, there's two of these systems. However, sex is not a binary, but we'll cover that in more detail in a later video. So what are those two systems? The first one is this. It produces sperm and has a single urethra used for both ejaculation and urination. It's often known as the penis, however the penis is a particular part of it rather than the whole thing, which is why I'm not calling it that. And the second one is this. It releases eggs, gestates the fetus, and has a urethra that's separate from the vaginal orifice. It's also often known as the vagina, but the vagina is just another name for the vaginal orifice. It's not all of it, which is why I'm not calling it that. Every sexually reproducing creature in the animal kingdom has some form of these two sets of organs, but that's all they are. It's just a purely biological thing. Sex is in the same sort of categories as the respiratory system or the circulatory system or the olfactory system. They're systems of organs that produce vital and very useful functions, but that's it. That's all sex is. Now this is where things get contentious, because as a filming there's no one theory that explains gender fully, but we do know that it's a socially constructed concept, in the same way that like money, race and politics are all social constructs, by which I mean they're made up. They have no basis in biology, but they do perform functions that allow society to operate in the way that we know that it does. So what function does gender perform exactly? Well, there's many theories, but the one that I identify with most is that it allows us to relate to and understand how to interact with one another. For example, if you're at a bar and you're talking to somebody who introduces themselves with a culturally feminine name, they express femininely and they give off the vibe of a woman, then we instinctually know to use female pronouns in reference to her and to treat her like a woman. This becomes slightly more complicated when we include non-binary people, because how we each unconsciously assess somebody's gender is all based in the ideas of gender that we were raised on. And if you're an adult like me in a Western society, then you're most likely raised on a binary system of gender, which by its very nature excludes non-binary people. Now how I've gotten around this issue is basically just referring to everybody with neutral pronouns until they make it expressly clear which gendered pronouns, if any, they prefer. And how do I know expressly clear? Well, if I hear their mates referring to them with he, him pronouns and they seem to be enthusiastically receptive to that, then I know that he prefers he, him pronouns. Now you might say that, yeah, but there's so much effort to put in, and it's really not. It's just being the minimally socially conscious of the people around you, and it's just basic politeness really. It's no more effort than knowing when to say please and thank you and saying please and thank you. I'm not going to sit here and suggest that sex is entirely irrelevant, because that would just be false. There's certain sexual health services that would be useless to people who don't possess a cervix, and if you're going for a sexual health screening, it's vital that your doctor knows what sex organs you have so that they can tailor the treatment to you. But outside of those very particular medical circumstances, it's entirely irrelevant. Like in any social situation, and by that I mean any situation that isn't a sexual health medical situation, you're not going to use sex as a tool to know how to interact with somebody in that situation. You're going to use gender. I entirely understand the confusion people have around gender and sex, because the two have been conflated for like all of mine and my parents' and my grandparents' adult lives, so it makes sense. But I hope this video has gone some way to helping you understand the difference between them. And if you still want to learn more, then there's a list of resources down in the description. And I'll also be milling around in the comments, so any questions or anything you have, just post them down there and I'll be sure to get them. Cool. But also, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could donate to my Patreon or just throw some loose change into my Amazon tip jar, because it keeps this going and it puts food in my editors and mine's bellies. So thank you again for watching. I've been Alice, this has been Transformer 1, and I see you in the comments. Bye!